Hi everyone, this is James and I am here about to conduct this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome, and if you're a returning viewer and subscriber, I'd like to say thank you for circling back around and for supporting the work that goes into the channel. So I'm very excited about this week's reading because as I was laying in bed this morning, preparing for the day and about to head out the door to go to work, which by the way, I am filming the video on Sunday. It is now Sunday evening, August the 21st, 2025. And so as I woke up this morning, I had a strong desire to work with a particular deck. So I am giving my beloved Mitchell Fortune-Telling Oracle a break for this week because of the pull that I felt to work with this particular deck. So the deck on the table is a Lenormand deck that I made earlier this year. And so the deck is the Lenormand Cartomancy Oracle. So I used this deck in this space once before, but the story behind the deck is I created it on the heels of my other Lenormand deck, which is the Mitchell Lenormand Oracle. And when I designed this deck, this was intended to be a client deck. And so when a client books a Lenormand card reading with me, that is the deck that I use now that I've made my own. And so it just so happens I had a person purchase a Lenormand Grand Tableau reading over the course of the week. And so that probably planted the seed for the desire to work with the deck that's now on the table. So the story goes behind the Lenormand Cartomancy Oracle is that I wanted a deck that had 54 cards in it. So this deck is actually an entire playing card deck. And so the design aesthetic of the deck is that it is comprised of playing cards. So for instance, like this is the 5 of spades. So what I'm showing you right now are all the extra cards that come in the deck because the Lenormand deck comes with 36 cards, so these are 18 extra cards to make up a full playing card deck. And so the design aesthetic is that I wanted the borders to have the playing card number and the emblem, we call these indices, right? And then the picture in the middle. So, and then there are also 2 jokers in the deck, so I'm just showing you some of the additional cards. We're not going to be working with the additional cards for this week's reading. So maybe at a future time, if I use this deck in this space again, I may do a full, a reading with the full deck, I should say. But anyway, these are some of the extra cards. But you can see the design. So it's a playing card with the design in the middle. Because I wanted to honor my playing card background. I've said this story several times in this space, but if you're here for the first time, I actually got into reading cards, generally speaking, as a result of having a dream in which I was reading playing cards. And in waking life, up to that point, I had never read with cards at all in that way. So that kind of set me on the path of being a cartomancer. So I always have a soft spot for playing card decks. And so I wanted this deck to look like a playing card deck, but it also is a Lenormand deck. So I have the 36 cards on the table that we're going to be using for this week. Now, if you also watched last week's video, I did an experiment with a layout that I called the Tableau of 13. And in that video, I said that I had an idea for 2 different kind of layouts at the same time. And I was going to use one in that particular video and the other one in this week's video. So even though I'm not using my beloved, I can't stress this enough, my beloved Mitchell Fortune-Telling Oracle, I'm going to be demonstrating that reading using this deck. So it's going to comprise of a 9-card box with an additional card at the bottom. And so I'm going to first shuffle the cards and deal them out, and I'll explain more about the layout when we get to that part of the video. And so shuffling the cards, my intention is to ask the general question, what do we need to know about the week ahead? What possible events, situations, or experiences could be unfolding for us over the course of the week? So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle that into the cards now. Alright, the cards have been shuffled, cut, and dealt. And so as you see, we have a 3x3 or a square of 9 and a card at the bottom. So I was inspired by the idea of the Tree of Life from Kabbalah, if you're familiar with that. And I was thinking in that diagram, that schematic, there are 3 columns within the Tree of Life. So this was making me think of the 3 columns in that. And then I wanted a card at the bottom to serve as, you know, a final word or a final piece of advice, or the bottom line, much like the 3 extra cards that were in last week's tableau at the bottom of that particular schematic. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So we can read this as a traditional box of 9, but then we have the additional card at the bottom. Okay, so going with that, here we would have the focus. So now remember, the question is, what do we need to know about the week ahead in terms of possible situations, experiences that could be unfolding for us as we move through that week. So here we have in the middle, heart of the matter. So here we have the lady card. So the lady card would indicate there's going to be a woman who's going to figure prominently in this week's reading because she is a significator card. Also too, being in the middle, she would play a central role or a part, or she would be the focus of a situation. So now, if you are a woman watching this video, she could be you, because this card would represent a woman seeker, a woman client, a woman querent, things like that. If you're a male, this could be a woman who's going to be playing a significant role or part in the situation that's unfolding for you, right? So now if it's neither one of those, this could be a woman who may be in the public space, since this is a collective reading. So this may be someone who's in the public space, who's going to be playing the central role or part, like she's got the starring role of the part, right? She's front and center in the situation. So now we have line of sight, directional cue. She is looking this way, so this would be her future, and this would be her past. Or with the week ahead, this may be things that she's looking forward to, right? And then these would be things that maybe are going to be challenging for her, because for me, this would be what we call inauspicious placement. And it usually represents, like, these were things that would be unfolding, but they may be a particular challenge for her, right? Now, above her would be what's on her mind, or what is influencing her over the course of the week. What's underneath her, or maybe her feelings. If this is her thoughts, these will be her feelings, right? Or if this is what is influencing her, then this is what she has control over, because her card is literally on top of that card, okay? So I'm going to go with the idea here is that I'm going to be looking at the card here now, because this card can be, like I said, the bottom line, but it can also serve as the root or the foundation, right? Because all the other cards are on top of this card, right? So it could be setting the stage for, like, this is the root of the foundation, this is what's being built on that foundation. So let's take a look at that now. And here we have the house card, right? Okay, so now this could be her home life, right? Mirroring the 2 cards, this would be her home life. And again, with the idea of, like, trying to get something under control. So this would be her personal life, her home life, things having to do with family. This is a family-oriented card. It could also be about her idea or her level of comfort, right? So it could be a situation that she maybe is living with, right? But also to something about her particular home life, family life. It could be even also to something about her actual home, right? Because the Lenormand symbols, because that's what the card images are, they are symbols, right? They can also be taken literally, right? So they could either be literal or metaphorical. So in the literal sense, it could be about real estate, property, things like that. Issues having to do with house, right? But it could also be, what does she need to do to be more comfortable, right? And so this could be being comfortable in the skin that she's in, right? Being herself, or being more comfortable in the environment that she's in, right? So the other cards might give us more information about that, because the other thing about this particular card, it has no other meaning than it represents a woman, right? So now I'm going to go to the opening card here. Opening the box up, we have the tree card. So very interesting. So we have home life, family, you know, maybe even people that she's living with, because the playing card is the King of Hearts. This will imply a person, maybe somebody who is the head of household. That's usually my meaning for the King of Hearts in the house card, right? But we also have the tree card, excuse me, and the tree represents extended family. So there may be something having to do with family issues here. Now the tree card can represent healing. It's a healing card, so there may be something having to do with her personal life, her home life, that involves some sense of healing. Or it has something to do with her lineage, her ancestry, something hereditary, because of the idea that the tree represents roots, right? It's very interesting. So I said this card was in the root of the foundation, yeah, and then here we have a card that talks about roots, something that's rooted in something, right? So this card is also about patience. So it could just be a matter of, as the week starts or begins the process of unfolding, two things. Number one, it's about growth and development. So there may be something that's growing and developing, or something that requires time and patience, right? But that's what the tree card means. The tree card can mean healing or well-being. It can represent growth and development. And it could also represent, you know, something that we are deeply rooted in, or something that we have planted the seeds around or in, and waiting to see what grows and develops from that. Okay, so now closing of the tableau, because these 9 cards will be considered the tableau. So this is how it closes. And here we have the fish card. So the fish card is about money. This is the money card in the deck. It's also about abundance. So this could be the growth of money or the growth of income, right? And then the kings, for me, in the playing card sense, can represent the idea about power and control, right? Kings represent power and control, you know, having authority. So this could be a woman who maybe is trying to have more of a sense of power and control over her finances, her financial well-being, right? Because Lenormand is best read in combinations and pairs. So this would be well-being. What kind of well-being? Financial well-being, right? Or the growth and development of finances and money, right? And then the fish card can also be about multiples of something, right? So this could be growth and development through maybe multiple streams of income or revenue. One of the meanings of the King of Diamonds in the fish card is that it can represent being an entrepreneur, right? So with that in mind, this could be maybe somebody who has a home-based business, right? Home-based business, and is maybe looking for other income or revenue streams. Maybe that's why they work from home. So I'm seeing that. But again, the fish card can represent going with the flow. It could represent depth, going deeper with something. Circulation, that would be, now if we're talking about health and well-being, there may be a circulatory issue here, because the fish card for me can represent circulation. But I'm seeing this as, you know, well-being, financial well-being, and the growth and development of finances. Okay, so now let's take a moment to turn all the other cards over. All right, so I've turned all the cards over, and there's some interesting dynamics going on here. Okay, so the first thing that catches my eye is that we have both significators in this reading. We have the lady card here, and we have the gentleman. And if you notice that they are looking in 2 different directions, right? So we have a disagreement between 2 parties, right? So I talked about her and what she could represent. Let's talk about him for a moment. So he can represent any man who's watching this video, right? So myself as a reader being male, this could be me, right? And it could also be any male who's watching the video, because he would represent a male seeker, a male client. But he could also be for a woman, an important or significant man in the situation, like a man who's playing a significant role or part in the story. So now, just like in last week's reading, we have him looking out of the tableau. So this could be he is seeking an exit or making an exit. And here, noting the dynamics, she's not facing him, right? So he could be in her rear view mirror, so to speak. But if this is an existing situation, there is a sense of disagreement between two parties, or that they each have a different area of focus. And I may go ahead and pull a card and place it here towards the end of the reading, just to see what's going on here, because there's no card here. And it would indicate his future is uncertain. And I don't feel like I want to leave that there, right? For all the men out there who may be tuning in. Okay, so that's what I would see here. But it's clearly a sense of disagreement with two parties, one female, one male. And they are each looking at something else. Their focus is on something else, right? Okay, so that's what I would notice. And so now with him, this would be his future, right? This would be his past, if we were looking at that. This would be what's on his mind, what's influencing the situation for him, and what is under his control here, right? Okay. The other thing that I noticed, just looking at the playing card indices, we have some other people possibly figuring into the situation. We have three cards that are kings. We have King of Diamonds, King of Clubs, King of Hearts, right? So besides our two main people, there may be other people who are playing a role or a part in the situation, and I would kind of give them like secondary roles, right? They're like supporting players or supporting characters, yeah, if this was a story, right? And then we also have the Queen of Diamonds. So we have another woman here, possibly, if it's not about the symbol on the card. So a lot of other players in the game, right? Remember, Lenormand was also known as the Game of Hope, so there's lots of other players in the game. And then the other thing that I also noticed was that we have two aces, the Ace of Hearts, three. Ace of Hearts, Ace of Spades, and the Ace of Clubs. So aces in playing card cartomancy can represent the beginning stage of something. So maybe there's a situation unfolding where there's a lot of potential in it or within it, kind of thing. So that's what I'm noticing about the playing card indices and the role that they are offering in terms of information. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start reading I'll read the columns. So if this applies to women, so I'm going to go here, if we go with the idea that this is the past for her, or inauspicious placement, and then I'll come to this column. So let's start with the dog at the top. So the dog is a card that can represent friendship, it can represent companionship, it can represent loyalty, trust, being trustworthy, trustworthiness. It can also represent help, support, or advice, right? So going with that in mind, touching on the fact that the two principal people are not looking at each other, and dog is in auspicious placement for her. So there may be something going on either in a relationship or a partnership between a woman and a man, right? And I would even go one step further to say that there may be something having to do with a sense of faithfulness, trustworthiness, and support, right? And that would make sense with their backs to each other, not supporting one another, right? So there's that. So there may be an issue going on, like I said, between two people, and it may involve either a friendship, partnership, or it implies that there's an issue regarding faith, trust, and being supportive, right? And then supportive of who? It would be supportive of the man, right? Reading the column down. And then regarding what? It could be regarding financial well-being. So it could be a money challenge, right? Remember, inauspicious placement, a money challenge for a couple. and getting the money under control. Now, if I could switch gears and make it about him, then this would be about help, support, or guidance, right? What kind? Financial. So now it could either be one or two ways. Either he needs the help financially, right? Or the support financially. Or even that he's playing the role of a financial consultant, dog consultant, fish, money. And then he figures prominently in that because he's in the middle. So it's either he needs financial help or he is able to provide financial help for the woman. But again, because they're behind her, there could be an issue regarding financial support for her, and he may play a role in that. Okay, moving to this column now, this would be what she is willing to face or address as the week unfolds. We have tree, which is the card, remember, about healing or something, being rooted in something, or being patient for something to grow and develop, all of those things. Then we have the crossroads here. So this card would indicate she is going to be facing the need to make a choice or a decision. That's the prominent meaning of the crossroads for me. It represents choices, decisions. It represents looking at all the options within the situation in terms of the decision, all the alternatives within the decision. Now this row, I'm jumping here, but this row would make me feel like there may be a question for a woman or needing to make a choice. Do I stay or do I go? And I'm going with the idea here that the crossroads has two different signposts going in opposite directions, right? So, and then I'm going to go here. So then we have choice or decision here, and then clouds, the most challenging card in the deck, describing the choice of the decision. It's unclear, uncertain, confusing, right? These are all words for clouds. So a choice or decision that is unclear or doubtful or confusing. So if this is about direction and which way do I go, it's rooted in, no pun intended with tree, but rooted in uncertainty, confusion, and doubt. And then here, let's add this to it. The man knights to clouds. Go over 2, down 1. That's a process called knighting, right? So here we have confusion regarding the man, uncertainty regarding the man. That would add to the visual of them not looking at each other. And then let's even add this. Confusion, finances. Something unclear or uncertain about the financial future, right? Reading the line this way, the financial future. Now, if I go with the idea that this is another person, a supporting person, then the lady is looking at the Queen of Diamonds here, and this might be a person who is decisive. So this could be a person that she goes to help her make a decision. And that would make sense if we knight this to dog, up 1 over 2. This would be about help to make a decision. And this would be adding more to that, describing her as a friend. Remember, because this card can be about friendship, partnerships, companionships. So this might be a friend or somebody who's going to offer friendly advice or some sort of help or support for the woman. But the intention is to help her make a decision or to give her some sense of direction. But it could also be read, if we read it this way, choice or decision for the woman about a man. Okay, so that's what I would see here with this column. So it would represent, again, what is it rooted in? So this situation with tree, so this is about well-being, uncertain, right? Well-being, confusion, right? This card could also be about something going on mentally, right? Because this card here is about the mind, the mental atmosphere, right? So now this could be about healing, and this is where I have to put my disclaimer in here. I'm not a doctor, right? But the way I would read these two cards is about there may be something about healing from depression. This card could suggest depression. Or, you know, healing the past, right? Because this card could be about the mental atmosphere, right? So this could be, I sometimes think of this card about like memory, you know, memory issues, right? So it could be about healing the past. Or a need to clear the air, healing, and that leads to clearing the air if we come down here. And that may be a choice, needing to make that as a choice or a decision. Okay, so now let's look at the cards here for the lady. Now remember, this would be what's on her mind or what's influencing her in some way. So we have the ring card. So the ring is about commitment, right? And so it could imply that the people involved are either seriously committed in a seriously committed relationship, partnership, right? Companionship, or that they're actually married. Right, but then this card would suggest that there may be, again, issues regarding being faithful or faithfulness, trustworthiness, or support. Because these cards this way could be read as healing for the marriage or commitment regarding faith, faithfulness, trustworthiness, support. Or this could be like seeing if they're having problems, clouds, then this could be about seeing a marriage counselor, right? Because the dog can represent counseling. And that would make sense mirroring to tree about healing. But then here we have, it would require a commitment on the part of both parties. Right? So, yeah. So, and then he knights to tree. So this would be about maybe healing situation with the man. Or being patient with the man. Or something deeply rooted with the man. That kind of thing. Okay, so that would be ring. And then we have tower. So tower is a card that can represent institutions. So here with the ring and tower, we have the institution of marriage, right? This would be marriage as an institution. Or conversely, we have marriage, commitment, union with the ring. And then the tower is about isolation, being alone, withdrawal. This is a card that can represent separation, right? So we have the polar opposites surrounding the woman, right? Because they are flanking her. So this could be a person who's considering the idea of, you know, staying in a serious commitment or marriage or leaving it, being on her own. So now that may be more of a personal, interpersonal type situation. If we make it more about maybe career, something career oriented, then the tower can represent a company, corporation, or firm. And then with ring, this could be a contract, a commitment. So this could be a commitment or a contract with a company, corporation, firm. She plays a starring role or part in that. And then look here, ring, knights to fish. So here we have a financial commitment, a financial contract, or a contract, and the finances is a part of that. Also too, if she's not playing the role of a consultant, she could be seeking a promotion, because this card can represent high office or elevated status. But there may be uncertainty about how much money would come with a promotion. So that would need to be cleared up again here, because on the flip side we have ring and knighting to clouds. So this could be a marriage that's uncertain, unclear, or a contract that is uncertain, unclear. Right? Now, if I take these two cards into consideration as a combination, if this is business, then this could be a company, corporation, or firm, and then the house card would be a department within the larger company, corporation, or firm. Right? And then this woman could be heading up a department. Or there could be an issue between a man and a woman. They may be vying for the same position because here he knights down to the house card. So now in the interpersonal aspect, this could be somebody she is living with because he knights to house. Remember I said this was about the head of household, right? So could be knighting to house in that regard, or that somebody who is in the same department or maybe vying for the same position. Right? And it could be a choice between the two of them, one or the other. Because I just heard the Paula Abdul song in my head, one or the other. Right? So it could be one or the other. So that could be in the either in the personal sense or the professional sense, yeah? Now, if it is a woman who's torn between staying in a seriously committed relationship or marriage or leaving it, then at the bottom here we may have an issue regarding real estate, property, right, which I touched on earlier, right, or idea of assets, right, King of Diamonds, fish, and needing to come to some agreement regarding that. So that's if we look at it from the woman's perspective. Again, if we look at it from the man's, now this would be inauspicious placement. So we would have again here the sense of like being challenged with a commitment. So this could be honoring a commitment, keeping a promise, that kind of thing. Or it has to do with a marriage to a woman, right, and being challenged with that. And then again here, the Tower would indicate isolation, being alone, withdrawal. And then these two cards just made me think of I'm dating myself. So there used to be a sitcom called Living Single, yeah? So I'm seeing single with this card and then living with this card to get the combination of living single. Right? And then there's he knights to clouds, like I said earlier. So this could be him being confused, him being uncertain. There's that. And then also too maybe him dealing with a situation that's growing and developing, right? Or something that's been taking a long time to grow and develop, meaning get to the point that it has gotten. Right? And then the other thing that I'm noticing here with the dynamics, here we have maybe something going on between two men. King of Diamonds, King of Clubs, outside of these two. King of Diamonds, King of Clubs, and then what's in between them? Tower, corporation, firm, company, office, high office. So again, that sense of two men maybe vying for a position within a company. Or this could even be two people, two men in particular, and maybe something having to do with politics. I almost went through the entire reading without bringing up anything about regarding politics, but this could be government, politics, and there may be two men who are playing a role or a part in something having to do with the government or something of a political nature. Right? And then, of course, then the house would be a pun for either the House of Representatives, or this would be pun for the White House. Right, and if I go with this, if we go with confusion or uncertainty regarding finances or income or revenue streams, then this may have to do with the potential for a government shutdown. And this would be here, decisions, choices, options, alternatives regarding money. That would make sense there. And then maybe choices or decisions about who to trust, right, in this process. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm going to leave it there around the political thing. And so now the last thing I'm going to do to round this reading off, as I said, I was going to pull a card to put in front of the gentleman card. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, I shuffled and cut the deck and fanned the cards out and picked the card. So here's the card. So what is it that the man has to look forward to? And here we have, here we have the Jack of Clubs, or the Whip card. So here we have argument, debate, heated words being exchanged, being angry. It's akin to the anger card that showed up in last week's reading with my beloved Mitchell Fortune Telling Oracle, right? It has the same kind of meaning. So this could be trying to work something out, sort something out. It may require more than one go at it, because this card can represent repetitive activity, but it can also represent, again, like arguments, heated words, debates, right? And if we look, it knights to Tower. So here it might be around this idea of arguments regarding maybe a process of separation, because this card can represent legal actions or legal activity, right? And remember, it's also a card that can represent being alone, withdrawal, or being single, right? Isolation, right? Now the other thing could be that there may be an argument or a debate about either something having to do with a policy, a regulation, because this card can represent things of an official nature, right? Going with the idea that this could be about government. So this could be also too an argument or a debate around something of an official nature regarding a policy or a regulation of some kind. The other thing that I'm thinking about, and I have no other cards to support it, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that there may be some sort of argument or debate around somebody being in confinement. This card can be a prison card, and I don't have any other like legal cards other than this. So this could be, you know, legal situation involving incarceration, confinement, solitary confinement, things like that. And this card is also punishment. So somebody may be punished by jail time, prison time, and then the man is looking forward to that. So the man is looking at disciplinary action or some sort of punishment, and it may involve incarceration. And then the other thing I would say is that this may be a man who works in either the legal profession, law or law enforcement, or in the political arena, and is really getting beat up. This card can represent taking a beating, right? So it could be somebody who's really taking a beating, right? And it wouldn't be like it's one of those things where it's not like it's the first time, right? And then this card knights to ring. So this could be, you know, going around and around, right? The ring is cyclical. It's a circular symbol, so it could represent going around and around. Or, you know, there's a conflict or dispute or debate around somebody's level of commitment or their ability to keep their promise. That kind of thing too. Yeah, but not a good card for this person. Now, the other thing that's coming to my mind is too, if there is a couple who's going through maybe the process of separation, this card might suggest that the possibility is it has to do with casual physical encounters. And repeatedly. right? And so that may be the thing that is about the process of separation, right? And again, there would be issues regarding real estate, property, and also finances, assets, liquidating assets, yeah. And so that may be things that are going to be looked at for choices and decisions. So I'm going to leave it there. And if you made it to this point in the reading with me, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time. I would be interested in hearing your thoughts on the 9-card box with the extra card at the bottom. Did you enjoy the process? Would you like to see it again? Just let me know in the comment section below. James Himm Mitchell signing out. And as I sign out, I look forward to sharing this space with you at a future time, looking at situations that are taking place in our lives, in our world, with the cards, in a future Oracle Outlook video reading. So until then, I'm hoping that you're having a great day. I hope that you have the best week possible, and take care.